Welcome to Basic Electronics class number 25. So last day we were discussing about the transistor amplifier and we have done some problems on the transistor amplifier. So that basically completes the part of the transistor amplifier that would be included in the basic electronics syllabus. Today we will be starting something new, which is also a transistor but which is not bipolar junction transistor. So this is also a kind of transistor and it is known as MOSFET. Here this M basically stands for metal, O stands for oxide, S stands for semiconductor, F stands for field, E stands for effect, and this T basically stands for transistor. So the entire name is basically metal oxide semiconductor field effect transistor. Okay. So as we discussed earlier that the purpose or the function of a transistor is basically to control the current between two terminals with the help of the voltage or current applied to the third terminal. So in case of the BJT, the current between the collector and the emitter is basically controlled by the base current. Okay, or the conductance between the collector and the emitter is controlled by the base current or the base to emitter voltage, provided that the transistor is actually in the active regime. Okay, in the forward active regime. So similarly, in case of MOSFET, the current is basically controlled by a voltage. Okay, so this is also a transistor. So current between two terminals is controlled by a voltage. Okay, now what is the significance of this name? So this is a transistor, so we have a transistor over here, and then there is this field effect. This field effect basically means that the action of the electric field or the effect of an electric field is basically required for the transistor to function. Okay, the main controlling agent is actually the electric field. Okay, and metal oxide and semiconductor basically denote the three main layers that is used to fabricate this kind of transistor. So there is metal, there is oxide, and there is semiconductor. Okay, so let us see the structure of this transistor. So let us consider a block of P semiconductor here. So this is P type semiconductor. And then on the top of this semiconductor, we basically fabricate a layer of oxide here. Okay, so this is basically oxide. And preferably if this P type semiconductor is silicon, and then this oxide is basically silicon dioxide. Okay, and then on the top of this oxide we fabricate another layer of metal. So you see from where this name metal oxide semiconductor has come from. So there is a top layer of metal and beneath that there is oxide, and then beneath the oxide there is this p-type semiconductor. Okay, this p-type semiconductor is basically known as the body of the transistor, and this metal layer is basically known as the gate of the transistor. Okay, now let us assume that we apply a potential difference between this p-type semiconductor and this metal gate. Okay, so we apply a potential difference between this p-type semiconductor and this metal gate over here. Okay, so this potential difference is basically, let us call it VGS. Why it is called VGS, it would become clear in a moment. But right now, let us actually assume that this voltage is basically coined as VGS. Now, suppose initially this voltage VGS is actually 0. Okay, let us assume that initially this voltage VGS is basically 0. Okay, now if we gradually increase VGS, what will happen is that the potential of this metal would increase actually. Okay, this is the metal layer, and the potential of this metal layer would increase, and so this metal would basically generate an electric field that would actually impinge the body. So there is an electric field here that is impinging the body. Okay, and this electric field is basically directed downwards. Okay, it is vertical and it is directed downwards. Okay, now if this electric field basically impinges the body, then it would basically repel the holes that are present on the surface of the body. So there are holes in the p-type semiconductor here. So this p-type semiconductor basically contains holes, and when this electric field basically impinges on the surface of the body, then it basically repels away the holes that are basically present in this region. Okay, because holes are assumed to have a positive charge, and an electric field basically repels the positive charge. So this electric field basically repels these holes away from the surface. Okay, the surface of the p-type body. So it basically repels away the holes from this region. So when it repels away the holes in this region, basically then this region becomes negatively charged. Okay, because when holes were present, this region was electrically neutral. Now holes are repelled away from this p-type body on the surface of the p-type body. Okay, holes are repelled away from the surface of the p-type body, and that is why this region near the surface of the p-type body has become negatively charged now. Okay, so this negative charge basically consists of immobile ionic charges. Okay, if we remove the holes, this basically means that an electron comes and quenches the holes. Okay, an electron comes and destroys the holes. That is how holes are repelled. Okay, so if an electron comes and sits in the holes, basically then this negative charge consists of immobile ions. Okay, now if we increase the voltage VGS, then more holes would be repelled away from the surface. So this region which contains negatively charged, negative immobile charges, this region would actually basically increase. Okay, and this region is basically a depletion region because the charge in this region consists of immobile ions. Okay, so this is basically our depletion region. Okay, so we keep on increasing VGS, this depletion region or the thickness of the depletion region would basically increase. Okay, now when we further keep on increasing VGS, one point of time would come when all the holes near the surface, that is near this region, have been repelled. Okay, So one point of time would come, if we keep on increasing this voltage source VGS, one point of time would come when the region near the surface is completely devoid of holes. That is, this region near the surface would become completely devoid of holes. Okay, so this region near the surface is now completely devoid of holes. There are no holes in a very thin region near the surface. Okay, now any further increase in this voltage VGS would actually further enhance the electric field, and then what will happen is a very thin layer of mobile electrons would actually be created at the surface. So if we further increase VGS, a very thin layer of mobile electrons would actually be created at a surface. Okay, so in this region near the surface, a very thin layer of mobile electrons are now created. Okay, these electrons do not come from quenching of holes in the valence band. Okay, these electrons are mobile, and these electrons basically don't sit in any ions. Okay, these are like free electrons. Okay, so when all the holes have been repelled from the surface, then if I further increase VGS, the induced electrons would actually not go and sit on any ion or any atom. Okay, the induced electrons would be more like free electrons. Okay, they are basically mobile electrons. So I repeat this phenomena again. When VGS is equal to 0, there is no electric field anywhere. Now I increase this voltage VGS. Okay, so electric fields would start basically impinging the surface of the body in this direction. Okay, this electric field basically drives away the holes or repels the holes. So when we say it repels the holes, this basically means an electron would come and sit in the hole. Okay, so basically these electrons complete the bond. Okay, an electron which comes and sits in the hole, it basically completes the bond. Okay, these electrons, because it is in a bonded state or it is completing the bond, these electrons are mainly immobile. Okay, so if I keep on increasing this voltage VGS, initially the holes would be repelled away and the negative charge would be created near the surface. Okay, and this negative charge belongs to immobile ions, okay, or immobile charges. Okay, and basically these charges form the depletion region. Okay, so a depletion region is created when we initially increase this voltage VGS. Okay, now if we keep on increasing VGS, the thickness of this depletion region would basically increase, because the electric field becomes stronger and stronger when we keep on increasing this voltage VGS. Now at one point of time, if we keep on increasing VGS, then a point of time would come when all the holes near the surface had actually been repelled. So at the surface, at a very thin region near the surface, there are basically no holes. Okay, there are no holes at this very thin region near the surface. Okay, if I further keep on increasing this electric field, then the holes would not be repelled at the surface because there are no extra holes at the surface. But now what will happen is that if I further keep on increasing the electric field, electrons would be attracted at the surface, and these electrons actually do not come and sit in any ions, or these electrons do not basically quench any holes because there are no holes at the surface. Okay, so these electrons basically form a very thin layer of mobile electrons, and they are more like free electrons. These electrons do not belong to any particular atom or to any particular ion. They are more like free electrons. So when we keep on increasing VGS, the thickness of the depletion region initially increases, then one point of time comes when all the holes at the surface has been repelled. Okay, so when we further increase VGS beyond this point, no holes can be repelled from the surface because there are no holes present at the surface. Okay, further increase in VGS beyond this point basically attracts electrons, and a very thin layer of mobile electrons is basically created at the surface, and these electrons do not come and sit in any particular atom or in any particular ion. these electrons from a very thin layer of electrons at the surface. So this layer of electrons is really thin. This layer of electrons is mobile and they are present exactly at the surface. Okay, the value of VGS at which a very thin layer of mobile electrons is induced at the surface is known as the threshold voltage, and it is denoted by VTH, or sometimes it is also denoted by VTN. Okay, so the gate voltage at which a very thin layer of mobile electrons is induced at the surface is known as the threshold voltage. Okay, so threshold voltage is basically the voltage at which this thin layer of mobile electrons is induced at the surface. Okay, so this is basically VTH, at which this thin layer of mobile electrons is induced at the surface. Now if we further keep on increasing this VGS, the electric field increases. Okay, if we keep on increasing VGS, the electric field that is impinging at the surface here basically increases and more electrons are attracted to the surface. Okay, so if we increase VGS, the concentration of electrons that are induced in this thin layer basically increases. Okay, so the strength of, or the number of electrons in this thin layer near the surface basically increases when we increase the gate voltage beyond the threshold voltage. Okay, so the number of electrons, the number of mobile electrons at the surface, at the thin layer near the surface, increases when VGS is increased beyond VTH. Okay, and the number of electrons, the number of mobile electrons in this thin layer at the surface is directly proportional to VGS minus VTH, and this thin layer is called the inversion layer. Okay, this thin layer is known as the inversion layer or the channel of the MOSFET. The inversion layer or the channel of the MOSFET. Okay, so this thin layer of induced electrons is basically known as the inversion layer or the channel of the MOSFET. Okay, and the strength of electrons in the inversion layer or the number of electrons in the inversion layer basically increases with increasing VGS beyond VTH. Okay, now another point to note is that once the inversion layer starts forming, the thickness of the depletion layer does not increase anymore with increase in VGS. Okay, so this layer here is basically known as the inversion layer. Or the channel. Let me write it here. Okay, so now let us assume that we have actually fabricated a N region over here. Or N plus region over here, and we have also fabricated an N plus region over here. Okay, now we connect these two N plus regions with a battery and provide a potential difference across these two N plus regions. So we provide a potential difference here across these two N plus region, and let us call this voltage source as VDS. Okay, we'll discuss where this name basically VDS and VGS comes from. So now what would happen? Because this N plus region basically contains a lot of electrons, this N plus region also contains a lot of electrons, and then there are also a lot of mobile electrons in this inversion layer over here. Okay, there are a lot of mobile electrons in this inversion layer that is present in this region at the surface. Okay, so if we provide a potential difference VDS between this N plus region over here and this N plus region over here, then current would start to flow. Why? Because electrons can easily flow from this N plus region over here into the channel, because the channel also contains electrons. Electrons are induced in the channel or the inversion layer, and then because these electrons in the channel or the inversion layer are basically mobile, these electrons would actually flow in this direction. These electrons would flow in this direction, and then again these electrons can easily enter this N plus region, and then they would be collected by this contact terminal over here. Okay, so now once this inversion layer is actually induced, these mobile electrons can easily flow between the two N plus contact, this N plus contact and this N plus contact. Okay, this N plus contact which is connected to the negative pole of VDS, this is the negative pole of VDS, and this N plus contact that is connected to the negative pole of VDS is basically known as the source, and the N plus contact that is connected to the positive pole of VDS is basically known as the drain. Okay, now why this N plus contact is known as the source? Because this N plus contact is basically injecting electron into the inversion layer, or this is basically injecting electrons in the N plus channel. Okay, so this source is basically injecting electrons in this channel, and then these electrons flow due to the horizontal electric field which is present due to this voltage source VDS, and these electrons flow, and the drain basically collects these electrons. Okay, so this N plus region over here is basically known as the source because it injects electron into the channel, so it acts as a source for electrons. Okay, this terminal, this N plus contact basically acts as a source for the electrons. On the other hand, this N plus contact is basically known as the drain because it collects the electrons from the channel. Okay, so in other words, it drains the electrons from the channel. Okay, so that is why this N plus contact is basically known as the drain. Okay, and generally this source in the most common configuration is actually shorted to the body. So this source is generally shorted to the body of the transistor. Okay, so let me write it here. Once the inversion layer is formed, electrons can easily flow from the source to the drain via the channel. Okay, via the channel or the inversion layer or the inversion layer. Now, what will happen if this voltage VGS is basically set to 0? Okay, if VGS is basically set to 0 and VDS is non-zero, then no current would actually flow from the drain to the source, or no electrons would actually flow from the source to the drain. Okay, because when this voltage VGS is basically 0, then there is no induced inversion layer, or there are no electrons at the surface of the body. There are no electrons in this region, or in a better language, there are no mobile electrons at the surface of the body, or basically there are no mobile electrons in this region here at the surface of the body, or at the interface of the oxide and the body. Okay, so if there are no mobile electrons in this region here, okay, that means that there are no channel, then the electrons won't be able to flow from the source to the drain. So a conducting path at the surface of the body, or a conducting path at the interface of the oxide and the body, is basically required for electrons to flow from the source to the drain, and this conducting path is basically created by the induced mobile charges or the induced mobile electrons when this voltage VGS is actually increased beyond the threshold voltage VTH. Okay, so let me write it here. When VGS equal to 0, then no electrons can flow from the source to the drain, because there is no induced channel or inversion layer at the surface of the body. The induced inversion layer comes into picture for VGS greater than VTH and provides a conductive path for electrons to flow from source to drain. If there is no conducting path, or if there is no channel, or in other words, if there is no inversion layer, then no electrons can actually flow from source to drain. And the main reason for that, because no electrons can actually flow from P to N. So if this conducting channel or if this conducting path is actually not present in this surface of the p-type body, then current cannot flow, because no electrons can actually flow from p-type semiconductor into this n-type semiconductor. Okay, because electrons can only flow from n semiconductor to p semiconductor, or in other words, current can only flow from p-type semiconductor to n-type semiconductor. Okay, but current cannot actually flow from n-type semiconductor to p-type semiconductor. So current flowing from n-type semiconductor to p-type semiconductor in this direction basically means that electrons actually have to flow in this direction, which is not possible. We already know that for a p-n junction, the current in reverse bias situation is approximately 0. Okay, it is negligible. So current cannot actually flow from this n-type semiconductor into this p-type semiconductor, or electrons cannot flow from this p-type semiconductor to n-type semiconductor in the absence of this conducting channel. So if this conducting channel is actually not present at the surface, if this conducting channel is actually not present at the surface, then the electrons cannot actually flow from the p-type semiconductor to this n-type semiconductor, or current cannot actually flow from this n-type semiconductor into the p-type semiconductor in this direction. Okay, that is why in the absence of this conducting path, that is when VGS is less than VTH, then basically current flow is 0 in the absence of this conducting path. Okay, so let me write it here. No current can flow from the or through the from the so no current can actually flow from drain to source from drain to source in the absence of the channel, because electrons can't flow from p-type semiconductor, which is basically the body in this case, to n-type semiconductor, which is basically the drain in this case. Okay, so in the absence of this channel, no current can actually flow from the drain to the source, or no electrons can flow from the source to the drain. Okay, so electrons can only flow from the source to the drain, or current can only flow from the drain to the source when this conducting path, or when this channel, or when the inversion layer is actually present. Okay, so let me summarize this thing over here. There is this p-type semiconductor, which is also known as the body, and then here we basically fabricate a thin layer of oxide on the top of the body. So this is basically the oxide, and for silicon this is generally silicon dioxide. If this p-type body is made of silicon, then this oxide is of silicon dioxide, and on the top of this oxide we basically fabricate a layer of metal, and this layer of metal is basically known as the gate. Okay, and we have two N plus regions over here. Which are basically known as the source and the drain respectively. The source and the drain are basically on equal footing as far as the device structure is concerned, but basically the source and the drain depends on the biasing polarity of the transistor. So source is basically the N plus region which is connected to the negative pole of the battery, and drain is basically the N plus region which is connected to the positive polarity of this battery VDS. Okay, so we connect this a potential or the battery between this body and the gate. So we put a battery over here, and we call it VGS. Okay, and we basically short this source to the body, and this is the most common configuration where the source is basically shorted to the body. Okay, again generally but not always. Okay, and we put a potential difference between the drain and the source, and we call this battery VDS. By now it should be clear why this voltage source is known as VDS, because it is basically the potential difference between the drain and the source. So VDS is basically the potential difference at the drain VD minus the potential at the source Vs. Okay, and similarly VGS, this voltage source VGS is so called because it is basically the potential difference between the gate and the source. So this is equal to the potential of the gate minus the potential at the source. Okay, the potential of the source and the body in this configuration are basically the same. Okay, because the body is sorted to the source, and that is why this voltage is basically known as VGS. It is actually the gate to body voltage, but because the body is actually shorted with the source, we can also take it as the gate to source voltage, VGS. Okay, now initially when VGS is equal to 0 and VDS is non-zero, so let me write it here. So initially when VDS equal to VDS is greater than 0 and VGS is equal to 0, then basically no current flows between the drain and the source. Okay, this is because no electrons can actually flow from the P part to this N part over here. No electrons can actually flow in this direction. Okay, this also means that no current can actually flow in this direction from the drain into the body. Okay, and there is no conducting path between the drain and the source, so no current can flow when VGS is basically equal to 0. Now when VDS is still greater than 0, okay, VDS is small and greater than 0, and VGS is basically greater than 0, so 0 less than VGS less than VDS, then still no current can flow because there is still no layer of mobile electrons at the surface. So there is no mobile electrons in this region. Okay, since there are no mobile electrons in this region, so no current can actually flow from the drain to the source. Okay, of course, since VGS is actually greater than 0 now, therefore a depletion layer is actually created at the surface or near the surface. Okay, this depletion layer is created because this voltage VGS basically imparts electric field at the body in this direction. So this basically repels away the holes from the surface of the body. So a depletion layer is created near the surface of the body. So this basically creates some depletion region near the surface. So here depletion region is actually created. Near the surface of the body. So this region is basically the depletion region that occurs when VGS is greater than 0. Okay, so this is basically the depletion region, and this basically contains immobile ions. Okay, this depletion region is negatively charged, but the charge in the depletion region cannot flow. Okay, because these charges are bonded. Okay, these are immobile charges, these are ionic charges basically. Now, when VGS is further increased beyond the threshold voltage, or when VGS is increased and VGS surpasses this threshold voltage VTH, then a thin layer of electrons is actually induced at the surface. Okay, this thin layer of electrons which is induced at the surface actually contains mobile electrons, and once this layer of mobile electrons is induced, electrons can actually flow from the source to the drain through this conductive path, okay, or through this mobile layer of electrons, or current can flow from the drain to the source through this mobile layer of electrons. Okay, this mobile layer of electrons is basically known as the channel or inversion layer, and this inversion layer or this channel basically provides a conductive path between the n-type drain and the n-type source. Okay, n plus here basically means that heavily doped. So n plus basically means heavily doped n-type region. Okay, and so let me write it here that when VDS is greater than 0 and VGS is greater than VTH, then current can actually flow, and current can flow through this layer of mobile electrons which are induced at the surface, and this layer of mobile electrons is also known as the inversion layer or the channel. Okay, now we have also discussed that when this VGS is increased beyond VTH, then the electric field at the surface or the electric field that impinges the surface from the gate basically grows stronger. So more electrons are actually attracted at the channel, or more electrons are actually attracted at the inversion layer. So the strength of this inversion layer basically increases with increasing VGS. Okay, so once VGS is increased, so when VGS is increased beyond VTH, the number of electrons or the number of electrons in the induced inversion layer increases. So the conductivity of the inversion layer also increases. So the current increases, the current between drain and source increases with increase in VGS. Okay, so when we increase VGS and when VDS is greater than 0, in such a case the current actually increases with increase in VGS beyond the threshold voltage, because the number of electrons in the inversion layer or the number of electrons in the channel basically increases. Okay, so when the number of electrons in the channel increases, the channel becomes more and more conductive, so the drain to source current basically increases with increasing VGS. So thus current between the drain and the source can be controlled by increasing the gate voltage, and then that is basically the transistor action, that the current between any two terminals should be controlled by the third terminal. So here the current between the drain and the source basically can be controlled by the gate voltage. So when we increase the gate voltage beyond VTH, then the current between the drain and the source increases for a fixed VDS. Okay, so thus current between the drain and the source can be controlled by increasing the gate voltage. And if the gate voltage is less than if the gate voltage is less than VTH or the threshold voltage, in that case there is no current flow between the drain and the source. And if the gate voltage is greater than the threshold voltage, then current between the drain and the source can be increased by increasing this gate voltage VGS. Okay, so therefore current between the drain and the source is controlled by the gate voltage, and that is the transistor action. Basically the current between two terminals can be manipulated by voltage or current applied at the third terminal. So here this third terminal is basically the gate. Okay, so MOSFET is actually a 4-terminal device. So MOSFET is actually 4-terminal device, and these 4 terminals are basically the source, the drain, the gate, and the body. And the body is basically connected to the most negative voltage in the circuit, and this is basically to ensure that this N plus region and this p-type body, or let us say this N plus region and this p-type body is not forward biased. So that is why this body is actually connected to the most negative voltage or to the lowest voltage in the circuit. Okay, so this is one point. Another point is that no current can actually flow through this metal into the semiconductor in this direction. Okay, although this voltage source VGS is actually provided, no current can actually flow through this metal gate into the semiconductor p-type body, and this is because there is an insulator or insulating layer or oxide layer between the metal gate and the semiconductor body, and that is why no current can actually flow from the metal gate into the semiconductor body. Okay, so no current, so let me write it here, no current can actually flow from the metal gate into the p-type semiconductor body because an oxide insulator is present between them. Okay, and this makes MOSFETs very useful or very good for electronic applications. For example, in a transistor, generally, just as we discussed, that base is the input terminal and we connect the AC signal to the base of the transistor. Okay, here also the gate is actually the input terminal for the AC signal. The gate is the controlling terminal. The gate controls the current between the drain and the source, and gate is the input terminal for the signal in most of the cases. Now, these signal sources, just as we discussed, this signal source can be an antenna or it can be something else, but the signal sources have very low amplitude and it cannot generally provide a very high amount of current or high magnitude of current. Okay, so therefore we actually desire a device, or we want a device which demands a very low input current from the signal source or from the AC source or from the input source. Okay, BJT has some base current, or BJT demands some base current for its operation. Okay, and in case of the BJT, the current is amplified at the collector and the current at the collector is higher than the base current by a factor beta, but still the BJT demands some base current for its operation. Okay, so the BJT draws some current from its input signal source, but a MOSFET does not draw any current from its input signal source because of the presence of this insulator between this metal and this p-type body. So this insulator prevents any current flow from the metal to the p-type body. So MOSFET does not demand any flow of current from the signal source. Okay, so that way we are actually safe from this demand of some input current from the signal source. Okay, and because the gate is the input terminal and no current can actually flow through the gate into this p-type body, the MOSFET has a very high input impedance. Okay, input impedance is basically, just as we discussed for the BJT, the resistance seen at the base is basically the input impedance of the transistor. Okay, similarly, the resistance or the impedance seen at the gate is actually the input impedance of this transistor or this MOSFET. Okay, so here the input impedance is actually infinite because no current can flow basically between the gate into the p-type body. So the input impedance of a MOSFET at the gate terminal is infinite because no current can flow through the gate into the p-type body. Okay, so MOSFETs have a very high input impedance, or ideally infinite input impedance. Okay, so let us do up to here today. Thank you everyone.